He was the boy everyone ignored, the punchline to a cruel joke. But a single fateful bite from a genetically altered spider would rewrite his destiny. He would gain the power of a god, but his first taste of that power wouldn't save the world. It would cost him everything he held dear, forging a hero in the crucible of unimaginable grief. This is the story of how an outcast became a legend, and how great power brought with it the ultimate responsibility. Peter Parker's existence was one of quiet desperation. Navigating the treacherous hallways of high school was a daily gauntlet. He was a ghost, a specter haunting the periphery, his eyes fixed on the one star in his bleak sky, Mary Jane Watson. But she was a universe away, orbiting in a social sphere he could never hope to enter. His reality was the sneer of Flash Thompson, the school's resident tyrant, for whom Peter was a convenient target.
Think you're pretty funny, don't you, freak?
The words were like stones, each one a painful reminder of his place in the world. He was a science nerd, a photographer for the school paper, a boy living with his loving Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who saw the brilliant, kind young man hiding beneath the awkward exterior. Their field trip to the genetics laboratory was supposed to be just another day of academic wonder, but fate, or perhaps chaos, had other plans. In a display of advanced arachnids, one was missing. A super spider, a marvel of genetic engineering, descended from its web, landing silently on the hand of the one boy, who was too busy capturing a photo of Mary Jane to notice. The bite was sharp, a sudden jolt of alien venom flooding his system. He swatted it away, oblivious to the cataclysmic change unfolding within his very DNA. The journey home was a fever dream. His body ached, his vision blurred, his cells screaming as they were torn apart and rebuilt into something new, something other. Collapsing in his room, he fell into a transformative slumber, his genetic code being rewritten line by line. He awoke a stranger in his own body. The glasses he had worn his entire life were now a hindrance, the world snapping into crystalline focus without them. His once lanky frame was now coiled with dense, powerful muscle. The change was startling, unnerving. At school, this new reality collided with the old. An accidental slip of his food tray led to another confrontation with Flash. But this time, something was different. As Flash threw a punch, Peter's world slowed to a crawl. He saw the fist coming, a lazy projectile in a sea of molasses. He dodged and dodged again, his body moving with a grace and speed that felt utterly alien. He wasn't just reacting, he was predicting. The bully's rage escalated, his attacks becoming more ferocious, yet Peter danced around them effortlessly.
Fighting Flash. I wouldn't want to fight me neither.
When he finally caught Flash's fist, the resulting punch was not one of aggression, but of reflexive, overwhelming power. Flash was sent flying, crashing into a teacher, humiliated and defeated. The crowd of students erupted, not in fear, but in awe. For the first time, they truly saw Peter Parker. But what they saw, and what he felt, were two very different things. He was terrified. How did he do that? The discovery continued in the back alleys of the city. He found he could cling to walls, his fingertips and toes, finding purchase on sheer brick surfaces. He could leap across rooftops, his body soaring through the air with impossible strength. And from his wrists, he could shoot thick, strong, adhesive webbing. This wasn't just strength, this was a complete metamorphosis. He was no longer just Peter Parker, he was something more. But what? And what was he to do with it? The answer, at first, was tragically simple. He saw an ad in the paper, $3,000 for anyone who could last 3 minutes in a cage match with a wrestling behemoth. $3,000. Enough to buy a car? Enough to maybe, just maybe, impress Mary Jane. The motivation was not heroic, it was adolescent, born of a desire for acceptance and love. It was a profoundly human reason to use an inhuman power. He fashioned a crude costume, a mishmash of red and blue, to hide his identity. The ring announcer, however, had other ideas.
What you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
In a moment of theatrical flair, the announcer rechristened him.
Will be paid to the terrifying, the deadly, the amazing Spider-Man!
The name stuck, a brand given to him by a showman, not chosen by a hero. His opponent was a mountain of muscle and rage named Bonesaw, who promised to break him into pieces. The cage door was locked. For 3 minutes, it was his prison. At first, Peter was terrified, scrambling up the cage walls to escape the brute's grasp.
There!
Staying away from you. That's a cute outfit.
But the fear soon gave way to a dawning confidence. He was faster, stronger, more agile. He flipped, he dodged, he toyed with the giant, culminating in a final decisive aerial maneuver that slammed Bonesaw to the mat. 1, 2, 3. The crowd went wild. He had won, and in under 2 minutes. But his victory was short-lived. He approached the promoter, a greasy, cynical man demanding his prize. The promoter smirked, counting out a meager $100. The injustice was palpable. Peter had risked himself, had won decisively, and was being cheated. The promoter's reply would echo through Peter's life like a death knell. Seconds later, as Peter walked away, simmering with resentment, a man with a gun burst into the office, robbing the promoter. The thief ran past Peter, bags of cash in hand. The promoter screamed for help. Peter had a choice. He could intervene, use his incredible power to stop the crime. But the promoter's cynical words were still ringing in his ears. With a cold sense of poetic justice, Peter simply stepped aside and let the thief escape. He threw the promoter's own words back at him.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
It was a moment of petty revenge, an act of selfish apathy. It was a choice he would regret for the rest of his life. He walked out onto the street, only to find it swarming with police cars and panicked crowds. Something was wrong. He pushed his way through, a knot of dread tightening in his stomach, and then he saw him. A figure lying on the pavement. A small crowd gathered around. It was his Uncle Ben. He had been shot. A carjacking. The world dissolved into a cacophony of sirens and muffled sobs. He knelt by his uncle's side, the man who had been a father to him in every way that mattered, and watched the life fade from his eyes. Grief and rage consumed him. When the police radio crackled with a description of the suspect, a man cornered in a nearby warehouse, Peter didn't hesitate. This was no longer about a car or a girl. This was about vengeance. Clad in his makeshift costume, he descended into the warehouse, a predator hunting his prey. He cornered the man, the carjacker, the murderer. He smashed him through a window, sending him dangling precariously from the ledge. And as the light fell on the killer's face, Peter's blood ran cold. It was him. It was the robber from the promoter's office, the man he had let go, the man he could have stopped. In that horrifying moment of recognition, the weight of his inaction crashed down upon him. The thief, startled, stumbled backward and fell to his death. But his death brought no satisfaction, only a profound, soul-crushing emptiness. Uncle Ben's death wasn't just the fault of the man with the gun. It was his fault. His selfishness, his petty need for revenge, had loaded the bullet. The lesson was learned, paid for in blood. The boy died in that warehouse, and Spider-Man was truly born. While Peter was grappling with his new identity, another transformation was taking place across the city. Norman Osborn, a brilliant but ruthless industrialist and father to Peter's best friend Harry, was facing a crisis. His company, Oscorp, was on the verge of losing a crucial military contract. Desperate, he decided to become the human test subject for his own experimental performance-enhancing serum. The experiment went catastrophically wrong. The gas exploded, suffusing his body with incredible strength and his mind with a fractured, violent psychosis. A second personality was born from his ambition and rage, a cackling, malevolent entity that called itself the Green Goblin. This new persona, equipped with an advanced flight glider and a deadly arsenal of pumpkin bombs, began a campaign of terror against those who had wronged Norman. His first public appearance was at the World Unity Festival, where Oscorp's rivals were being honored. As chaos erupted, Mary Jane found herself on a collapsing balcony directly in the Goblin's path. From out of nowhere, a figure in red and blue swung in, snatching her from the jaws of death and battling the Goblin in a dizzying aerial duel. Spider-Man had announced himself to the world, not as a wrestler, but as a protector. He saved Mary Jane, leaving her safely on the ground before disappearing into the urban canyons. The Goblin became obsessed with this new web-slinging hero. He saw in Spider-Man a potential ally, a kindred spirit of power. But Peter, his conscience forever seared by his uncle's death, refused. He would never use his power for selfish gain. The battle was joined.
We are who we choose.
Spider-Man declared, a mantra solidifying his own path. But the Goblin, in his fury, had a final, chilling threat.
Shoot!
The Goblin now knew Spider-Man's one weakness. He was a hero. He cared about innocent people. And the Goblin knew just how to exploit that. The Green Goblin discovered Spider-Man's secret identity. The knowledge was a weapon more powerful than any bomb. He attacked Aunt May in her home, a terrifying assault that sent her to the hospital and Peter into a state of panic. His greatest fear was being realized. His life as Spider-Man was endangering the people he loved. But the Goblin's masterstroke of cruelty was yet to come. He descended upon the Queensboro Bridge, a metal demon against the twilight sky. In one hand, he held Mary Jane Watson, the woman Peter loved. In the other, he held a cable car packed with terrified children. He presented Spider-Man with an ultimatum, a sadistic game of life and death. And then, he let them both go. In a feat of impossible strength and desperation, Spider-Man dove. He shot webs in both directions, catching MJ with one arm and clinging to a web attached to the falling cable car with the other. He was stretched to his absolute limit, his muscles screaming, his body threatening to tear apart under the immense strain. He could not pull them both up. He was failing. As the Goblin gloated, ready to deliver the final blow, something incredible happened. The people on the bridge, the everyday New Yorkers, began to fight back. They hurled debris at the Goblin, distracting him. They were not just spectators, they were participants. They formed a human chain on a nearby barge, pulling the cable car to safety, then reaching up to help Spider-Man pull Mary Jane to the bridge. In that moment, he wasn't a lone hero. He was their hero. He was part of them. The Goblin, enraged that his perfect trap was foiled by common people, snatched Spider-Man and flew him away to a final, secluded battleground. The final confrontation took place in a derelict, abandoned building, a graveyard of forgotten memories. It was a brutal, personal war. The Goblin pummeled Spider-Man, tearing his mask, beating him to a bloody pulp. The mention of her name ignited a primal fury in Peter. He rallied, his rage giving him strength. He turned the tables, slamming the Goblin through wall after wall in a relentless, desperate assault. Finally, he had the Goblin cornered and defeated. He raised a fist to deliver the final killing blow, but at that moment, the Goblin removed his own helmet. It was Norman Osborn. Peter stopped, horrified. It was his best friend's father. Norman, seemingly himself again, pleaded with Peter. He appealed to their bond, to the father-son dynamic they once shared. He asked for Peter's hand, a gesture of reconciliation. But as Peter reached out, his spider sense blared a final, deafening warning. He saw Norman's eyes, and behind them, the glint of the Goblin's madness. With his other hand, Norman had activated his glider, its sharp blades rocketing forward, aimed directly at Peter's back.
Godspeed.
At the last possible second, Peter leaped into the air. The glider, meant for him, impaled its own master. Norman Osborn stared in shock, a final fate. With his dying breath, he made one last request, a final manipulation. He died not as a monster, but as a father trying to protect his son's memory. A final, tragic twist of the knife in Peter's already wounded heart. Fulfilling the dead man's last wish, Peter carried Norman's body back to the Osborn mansion, leaving him there for Harry to find. At Norman's funeral, Harry, unaware of the truth, saw Spider-Man from a distance and swore vengeance on the hero he believed murdered his father. The cycle of hatred was poised to continue. Later, at the cemetery, Mary Jane confessed her love for Peter. Everything he had ever wanted was right there, within his grasp. He could have a normal life, a happy life. But he saw the faces of Uncle Ben and Norman Osborn. He understood the terrible truth of his existence. His enemies would always seek to hurt him by targeting those he loved. To love Mary Jane was to put a target on her back. And so, with a heart breaking under the weight of his responsibility, he made the ultimate sacrifice. He gently rejected her, Faye. He saved her life twice, but he could never truly be with her. As he walked away from her, from the possibility of happiness, he embraced his destiny. He was a protector, a guardian, a silent sentinel. This was his gift, his curse. Who was he? He was Spider-Man.